Hi guys, how are you? I hope you're doing well. Let me adjust some things here. So, I have a few things I want to get out soon in new playlists that I want to create. And one of the things that I'd like to do is doing rising videos and what it means to have a certain planet ruling your first house in your birth chart. Um, um, let's see. So, I started studying astrology about 4 years ago. Like, up until then, I knew the basics. I knew that I was an Aquarius. I knew what it meant to have a horoscope. But I didn't really understand the birth chart and the planets and all the stuff that come along with that. So I got really deep into it. And as you will come to find out, because we are going to talk about Scorpio rising. When you are Scorpio rising, for starters, we love to research everything. As long as it catches our attention and we find mystery in it, we want to know everything there is to know about it. So when astrology came around, I wanted to know everything about it. And the more that I found out about it, the more I fell in love with it. The more it helped finally explain to me on a piece of paper or on the computer, something I could see, why exactly things in my life happened the way that they did and how they were destined to. And it helped me make sense of it all. So, I didn't find out I was a Scorpio rising until I was 40. I put in all the information on my, on astrology birth charts, and it popped up everything I started researching, like I said. So it popped up that my first house was Scorpio, which meant that I was a Scorpio rising. So that was the first thing that I learned, other than I was an Aquarius, of course. So I YouTubed Scorpio rising. I think I've watched every Scorpio rising video that there is to watch. So I'll make my own. As I was watching the videos, and then I was learning evolutionary astrology, Vedic astrology, and our modern astrology. Okay? So I'm studying all of it to put it all together so that I can break it down to what it means to me reading it the way that I do. And when I read birth charts, that's what I look for, not just modern astrology, our Vedic astrology, our evolutionary astrology. I kind of like try to put it all together and figure it out that way. So, but first one up, we're going to do Scorpio for several reasons. For one, I'm a Scorpio rising. So I know, I have studied, and I know more about myself and what it's like to be a Scorpio rising than someone else trying to explain it to me that is not a Scorpio rising. Two, in the astrology community, everyone knows that if you put in Scorpio rising, Scorpio sun, you get the most views out of them. And there's a reason why. And almost every video says we're mysterious. People either love or hate us. We're ruled by Pluto, which is in our first house. Scorpio is ruled by Pluto in Mars in traditional astrology. So we carry death and rebirth for the world to see because the first house is how people see us when they first meet us on a surface level, the way that we come across, in the way that we see the world, the way that everything through our eyes is seen through a Scorpio lens. As in, having a Scorpio sun, it is the core of you, your soul, your ego. And wherever the sun is in your chart is where that energy is going to be mostly seen. In your moon, it's your emotions. So wherever the moon is in your chart is going to explain whatever sign your moon's in. It's going to explain the way that you love. More to your emotions, not so much love, but your emotions and how you deal with them. Okay, and wherever that the moon is in your chart, it will help explain that. So, being a Scorpio rising is different than being a Scorpio sun or a Scorpio moon. The energies are different, and there's been a lot of arguments over who's the real Scorpio. Okay, here's the thing, people say that they are intrigued by Scorpio risings, and some of them want to BS on the way that we present ourselves because of the way we come off, where they see we have dark features and high cheekbones and, of course, resting bitch face, and our eyes. They always talk about our eyes. And, those things are true. And some people talk about the struggles it takes to be a Scorpio rising. When Pluto is ruling you, your life, as people see it and as you see it, becomes about death, rebirth, sex. So the way people see you when you walk into a room, whether you're a child or an adult, you have this power of energy of death, rebirth, and sexual energy that comes off of Scorpio risings. Until a Scorpio, because Scorpio risings, it has three different symbols. You can either be the scorpion, the eagle, or the phoenix. And depending on where you are in your life is what you're going to see from us. So depending if we're the scorpion, the eagle, or the phoenix, you're going to see a different Scorpio rising, and you'll know by then what phase they're in. Okay, so I'm going to try to explain this, and I guess explain myself more than anything as being a Scorpio rising, and how I've seen other Scorpio risings. And we're just talking about Scorpio rising in itself, just the energy of the first house, because if you add planets can change things, your sun and moon, and the energies that work with your rising sign. If you're intercepted, like I have an interception, that changes things. So we're just going to talk about the first house in itself. So people, either when they first meet us, love us or freaking hate us. I have had this my whole entire life. Either people really loving me or really freaking hating me for no reason. And if you go back to in my childhood, that was very confusing, because I would be the same person, but some people would like me and some people wouldn't, and I didn't understand the people who didn't. Like, what did I do wrong? Why are they, being so mean to me? Because being Scorpio rising means that you have to die and be born, death and rebirth. And to be able to be the phoenix rising from the ashes of being a Scorpio rising, you have to die and be reborn over and over times 1,000. And every time you die, you come back a different person. So what people see will be different of us also, because we've changed. If you spend a long enough time away from a Scorpio rising who is growing in their self, who is finding their power, you're not going to know them. If you knew them 6 months ago, the chances of you really knowing who they are 6 months later are slim to none. And it's because we are continuously freaking changing and learning and growing and dying and being reborn. So when we walk into a room and people see us, you see the intensity. You see, depending on your age, the scars, but in a different way. It becomes a power of sorts that we possess when we walk into a room, and we don't even have to try. I mean, I've if I want to walk into a room and everybody notice me, I can make that happen. If I want to walk in a room and be a chameleon and put my stingers up and really, not to mess with me, I can do that. Scorpio risings don't have an easy life. It doesn't matter whatever it is that we have to die to get to be in the phoenix, whether that's a mental illness, whether that is a physical illness, whether that is sexual abuse as a child, rape, many different things in a Scorpio rising's life. It has to be traumatic enough to to make them have to die to self, to be reborn. And we don't just go through these lessons a little bit. We have to go through them a lot, like I said, over again. Because when we're younger, we have deep emotions for others. And as we grow up and we learn that people love to hate us or hate to love us, we learn our boundaries. And sometimes it gets really hard to let boundaries down. But if we trust you when we're older, we love you. We are quick to cut you off. Absolutely. Scorpio rising is definitely one of the rising signs that we take no prisoners. We do not take prisoners. We are the extreme, so we are going to either love you, love you, love you, or you will feel nothing from us. Because when we give everything that we have to no matter what kind of relationship that is. If that is a relationship, we can usually fall in to a few that have to teach us lessons and burn us, just so we learn what real love is by being burnt by it. And this can happen several times. It will happen in a Scorpio rising's life until you become the Phoenix rising. And how fast you get there depends on how much work you're willing to do, to put into yourself. I know lower level Scorpio risings, and I know Phoenixes. We definitely can sting you if we are backed in a corner, or it is something that we know by the core of us because we have a lot of power. We see power, we expect power, and we know when people are lying. Now, it can go kind of either way, because sometimes when it comes to romance in the fifth house, and for most of us, depending on if you have interceptions or what's going on, you're going to have Pisces there, and you're going to get disillusioned by romance. But even we pretty much always know at the core when we're being lied to. So that's when you'll start getting the stinger. The whole thing that we hold grudges forever, I think that depends on what stage you're at. I have definitely been in stages where I can hold a grudge for a very long time. And that is where I had to learn to transmute things and let them go. But it's not that we don't want to forgive. It's just life has shown us over and over and over again what not to forget when it comes to other people, when it comes to our heart, because we are deep fixed water. We are deep people. The resting bitch face, you're going to see that when you first meet us, probably. Like, if I'm in a bubbly mood, even if I'm in a great mood, like I'm in a great mood today, been a great day, it's going to be hard for me to even express that the way that someone else is like, blah, 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 and they're all front and center. I'm going to be more laid back, chill, and just observe everything around me before you see the Leo moon in me come out, or the Aquarius, depending on what our relationship is. If you have more than one placement in Scorpio, so I have a Scorpio rising, but I have Uranus in my first house, which rules Aquarius, and I'm also intercepted, so I have Scorpio in my second house. My North Node, where I'm supposed to go in this life, is in my first house, also in Scorpio. So the energy of Scorpio has always been around me my whole life. To get to the Phoenix, you have to grow. And we're more like the lotus. We'll grow in the mud. But we will grow. When is, I also heard, well, we're obsessive or we're possessive. I can see where some signs, some people would say that we're possessive. I would say that we are intense emotionally. We love hard. We fall hard. If we let you in, you're in. It takes you really screwing us over to be out. We are possessive of our significant others, and it's not so much of a jealousy kind of thing, and I know that it comes off as that, and it can depend on the stage you're at. You're going to be more on the possessive or obsessive side. I have definitely had relationships that was not good, that I obsessed over more than I should have because of that Pisces in the fifth house, the extremes. And then there would just, be guys asking me to marry them as soon as I spent any time with them. Straight extremes. My whole life. Every Scorpio rising, their life is an extreme. Hot or cold, light or dark, death, rebirth. It's who we are in some form or fashion, no matter how that worked out for you in your life. But it's not a control. It's a control thing, I guess, to a point. But for me, and I'll just speak from my point of view of being a Scorpio rising Phoenix, where it has got me. It's not that I want to control anyone. When I care about you and I love you, I want to know that you're safe. I want to know that you're protected. I want to be able to fight for you emotionally, fight for what's best for you. I see the truth. I see the depth. And what's really hard about loving a Scorpio rising is that you have to be willing to go to the darkest waters to get us. And this can happen over and over again. Now, there's many, many great things about us when you get us out of the dark waters. But we have to go to those dark places because we're death, we're rebirth, we're intimacy. Sex to us isn't just sex. We're going to pour our energy, our sexual energy that is on us from the time that we're born, which is why a lot of us have sexual abuse, because people who are feeling the energies come off us and they can't control themselves, it can cause a lot of issues for that kind of thing if you're put in wrong situations. Not every Scorpio rising, of course, but a lot of us. Me. So, we take intimacy very personal. We merge, we take our deepness and we merge with others when we let them that close. Now, like I said before, depending on the stage you're at, we're real easy to cut you off. If we can give our all, and if you hurt us, you will know, because you will not feel anything from us anymore. We will straight just ice, frozen ice at that point. The water's frozen. It's deep water, but it's frozen. It takes someone who's willing to understand a Scorpio rising, to love a Scorpio rising for very long. For the way that, not for very long, because most people who's ever loved a Scorpio rising still has some kind of feelings for them. It's not an ego thing, it's just the way we love, the deepness of it, the connection, our intensity, you know. But yeah, that was a mouthful. What I'm saying is that to be able to go through the waves, if I would have known that I was a Scorpio rising when I was in my 20s and that all this shit had to happen, life would have been so much easier. Holy shit. Life would have been so much easier to understand for me. Like, everything would have been put in perspective. That's why birth charts to me are amazing. I'm like, I mean, when I read what all my stuff means, my Aquarius detachment, oh yeah, 4th house, yep, could do that. Moon, Leo, strength, Lion's heart, definitely that. North node, Scorpio, Scorpio rising, 2nd house, interception, yes, got this. And then you look at the Vedic, or the evolutionary astrology, where your Pluto is, and what that means for your course in this lifetime. It's magnificent. It's very interesting to me, and it challenged me to keep looking into more and more and more and more until I could pretty much, if I can know your birth chart, I can tell you a lot about yourself. Someone's having a party outside, guys, sorry. Big black party. Oh, shut this window. Jiminy Christmas. Yes. So, I don't know. Everyone that I've watched that's done the Scorpio rising, for the most part, has done a very awesome job at explaining us. The one thing that I've noticed, though, is that as hard as people think and as mysterious as people think we are, we're really so open if you're willing to see us. Now, don't forget what I said. We will sting you. And sometimes we don't even mean to. What I've noticed is if we have to break it down for you, like all the way to kindergarten level, to get you to understand what we're speaking of, and it's something that seems so common sense to us, that's when you're going to see us. And if you're not getting it as we're speaking and we're trying to talk and you're not listening, you're not hearing, and we have to break it down to wherever you are, whoever you are, whatever level you're at. We don't like to sting, but we will. And you have to learn how to control that when you're lower level Scorpio rising, especially when you're just a Scorpion. It's really easy to go around stinging people all the time who hurt you. Cut off, cut off, cut off. I was the queen of that. I could love you, and I meant it with all my heart. Like, I love that deep. But it came to a point where I had been hurt so much that once somebody hurt me just a little bit, you would see ice. If I could trust you and I could laugh with you and I could have a real conversation with you, we are non-stoppable friends. But there's always that 0 to 100, and it can change really fast. Not so much because that's who we are, but because we are a little bit, if you think about a scorpion in itself, it explains us a little bit more. And that's what people see. It doesn't matter what I do. I'm always going to have a resting bitch face. I can't just be light and fluffy because I'm deep and dark and mysterious, and I like odd things. I like things that most people wouldn't talk about. I don't have a problem talking about. And some people they're not ready for that, and some people are very intrigued by that, and it depends on who you are as a person, and that shows you how you see us. The power side of Scorpio rising is learning how to control it and use it to better yourself, not to hurt others. You know you have the power to use your stinger and make people realize that they hurt you. And you can do it in a very sugar and spice kind of way. But be careful, because what you give is what you get back. So, guys, that's my take on Scorpio risings. There's so much more depth to us. If I went through the whole chart and of it, we start with Scorpio, and then you have Sagittarius second house, Gemini, or Capricorn in the third house, and planets. It gets so deep, and you can really understand people. But since Scorpio rising is so talked about, and since I am one, and I have studied so much about it, I want to start this series out with Scorpio rising, and I'm not going to tell all of our secrets, because Scorpios like their privacy. Like, as much as you think you know a Scorpio rising, chances are you don't. Like I said, if any time has went by, you might want to recheck it, because we're always dying, always being reborn until the end. So don't be scared to love us. It might seem like we have a lot of trust issues, and we do. It isn't because life didn't teach us to not have trust issues. Life taught us to have trust issues. The beautifulness comes when you no longer have to. A part of you, no matter what stage of the Scorpio you're at, will have trust issues anyway. But the more that you're honest to a Scorpio rising, the more they see you, the more they see that you're not going to hurt them and that you're a safe person. There is a connection that won't ever be broken. But don't screw us over on purpose. Don't think we don't notice. just because we're always observing and researching and in the deep dark water, we know what's going on. You might be able to fool us for a minute. A little minute. But we'll get it. So, I love you guys. I hope you're having a great night. Until next time.